So I was sort of focused on that because it was to my back. Whether there were other people wounded or not, I couldn't tell. Of course, it was an enormous crowd, and the way it was set up, the president was on a podium, but there was a crowd behind him, and he was 360 around him. So once the shots happened, it became it wasn't panic. People didn't panic, but it was very chaotic, and everybody went down to the ground. Everybody was laying on the ground because we weren't sure the shooting was done.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question. Choose to answer it the way you like. Is Donald Trump lucky to be alive right now?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely, I think so. I mean, again, the facts will come out, and I always am careful when you're in the middle of a crisis. You don't want to draw too many conclusions, but it felt to me like he's very lucky to be alive, and I hope others who were injured are going to survive this. It was a very scary moment.
Sir, thank you for your time. David McCormick is a Republican. He's running for the Senate seat in Pennsylvania, and he was there, front row, for that incident today. Sir, thank you again for your eyewitness account. Shannon.
Yeah, we want to check in with Lucas Tomlinson. He's with the president in Rehoboth Beach in Delaware. And Lucas, you've gotten a readout that President Biden has been briefed. Anything more from your location?
That's right. Shall I just read from that readout that a White House official just sent out that President Biden has been briefed. These are the officials. His director of the United States Secret Service, Alejandro Mayorkas, of course, the DHS chief, and Liz Sherwood Randall, assistant to the president and Homeland Security advisor. And the following members of President Biden's team participated in that briefing, Shannon. Jeff Zients, of course, the president's chief of staff, Steve Ricchetti, assistant to the president, counselor of the president, and Annie Tomasinini, which is the assistant and deputy chief of staff. President Biden was attending mass just a few blocks from here, Shannon, when that incident and the reports of shots were fired at former President Donald Trump's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, about an hour north of Pittsburgh. The president, it did not appear he was rushed out of that service. He left at the appointed time. A member of the press pool that is signed with the president asked him if he had been briefed in the situation or had any comment. President Biden said no. He returned to his house in Rehoboth Beach. That's where he is now. The pool is holding outside his residence. We're awaiting a statement from the president, either on paper or if the president will make remarks later tonight, Shannon.
All right, Lucas Tomlinson with the president. We'll check back with you, Lucas. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas. Want to bring in Nicole Parker, former FBI special agent now. And Nicole, you've been watching the coverage. Just give us your top-line thought at this hour.
Top-line thought, Secret Service, they are the heroes today. The Secret Service, anytime there's a former president traveling, they typically have a counter-assault team that's paired with a local SWAT team. So the counter-assault team typically consists of about 4 to 6 special agents. They travel with the former president depending on threats. We all know that President Trump has many, many threats that are probably coming at him on a daily basis. Obviously, Secret Service, they immediately shield the president or former president, and then they, the SWAT teams come in, they're working with local law enforcement, federal law enforcement, and they will hold the scene. And again, like has been mentioned by other guests, the FBI will arrive on the scene, and then the FBI will conduct the investigation. They'll collaborate their efforts with the Secret Service. We all know that President Trump, thank goodness, right now is known to be okay. And so that is the Secret Service's first priority. Obviously, Reagan was the last president that was shot. This is very, very tragic for our country. Regardless of where one stands on the political spectrum, taking out your anger with violence is unacceptable. And, they got him out of the scene, thank goodness, but this could have ended very, very differently. And I've heard other guests, come on and say that, and I cannot express that enough. I have a very dear friend who was shot in the head, an FBI special agent, and she is not with us any longer. So this could have, just even inches over. This could have, if it was indeed a gun, which I'm sure that we all agree and understand that it likely was shot fired, this could have ended very differently. I think it's important to look from an investigative standpoint. Who did this? Whoever did this likely has revealed themselves as a threat in the past. Okay? The Secret Service is constantly looking into people of, potential threats. I believe, again, without knowing anything, just preliminarily, this person was likely of record. Okay? There's protective intelligence teams That's all they do. They work cases of any threats whatsoever that are directed at the current president, former president, and that is their job. So they likely, yes?
Yeah. If I may, I know you're FBI, not Secret Service.
Yes.
But trying to explain to people at home, even us for that matter, as we sit here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I can tell you it's a Saturday night in Shannon, the streets are closed, it's hard to get around already, and the event is still 2 days away. That's the world in which we live now. How then, Nicole, do you keep an environment safe when you have 10, 20, 30,000 people in a field with 360-degree views all around a person you are trying to protect?
That is extremely, extremely difficult. And I have to say that President Trump is extremely brave to do these rallies because it is, we look at the shooting in Las Vegas. There was someone that was in a hotel room firing from way far off in the distance, nowhere even near where that concert occurred, if we all recall that awful mass shooting in Las Vegas. Again, this could have ended very, very differently. But, everyone's all hands on deck. And like we said, the Secret Service goes in before, because I work with the Secret Service, I've done events with them. They go in and they sweep the entire facility before, a former president is coming in. I guarantee that area was swept, it was looked into, everyone had to, go through metal detectors. That's something for the FBI to look into and to investigate. But you're right, it's a very difficult task for law enforcement to do. But again, it speaks to how strong President Trump is. He is so determined in his message
the Secret Service news, they play
that
one with the
he's
audio,
willing to do these rallies. He is a warrior.
Nicole Parker, thank you, former FBI. Thank you for being with us. We'll check back in later. Shannon.
Yeah, Bill, we want to bring in our colleague Martha McCallum. Martha, your reaction as we are getting information that the former president seems to be okay, but what a shock to the system for Americans watching this play out this afternoon.
Hello, Shannon, and what a shock indeed. This is an incredible, awful event that we are watching playing out. When you see the former president of the United States with blood around his ear, and the details of all of this, we're still really waiting to find out what happened. We all hear those initial pop, 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 and then a second round of gunfire that may have come from Secret Service. We don't know the status of where this shooter was sitting, where they were positioned, but it appeared when the president clutched the back of his ear, it appears as if something is coming from behind him. And I looked really closely at the scene behind him. The people that you can see, at least, in the bleachers behind him, do not appear to all turn and look at one place of where this might have been coming from. So, this is video that needs to be looked at, obviously, frame by frame to figure this out. But the only good news right now is that the former president, by his own campaign's contention, is fine. And thank God he's fine. We have to hear more about these others who are wounded. Is one of these wounded the person who started this incident, as it's being called? And we have to nail down exactly what happened here. But these images that are on the screen right now, blue sky behind the former president, blood on his face, his fist in the air, this is an incredibly resilient and tough guy. He wanted to get his shoes before he went back down the stairs. This is an incredible development in what has already been several weeks of tumultuous campaign season that we are watching unfold right now. These are very, very edgy and difficult and unsettling times in America, Shannon.
Yeah, and Bill, I know you want to jump in too, but I want to let you know, Martha, we have a lot of reaction from across the political spectrum, everybody denouncing this to a one. But we're hearing from former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, who obviously is one of the most well-known surviving victims of one of these attacks. She says, political violence is terrifying, I know. I'm holding former President Trump and all those affected by today's indefensible act of violence in my heart. Political violence is un-American and is never acceptable. Never. Martha?
Well, she knows that firsthand, and she suffers from it every day. what happened to her was horrific. And you know, we have a lot of talk in the country about political violence on all sides and the concerns about it, but we haven't seen something quite like this in quite a long time. You know, you think of RFK, who was shot while he was campaigning in California, and he was killed by an assassin's bullet. It is these people who stand up to run for president of the United States. They put their safety on the line every day, and these Secret Service heroes who surround him, I mean, think of this image of them literally body to body creating a wall around the person that they protect. And I heard you speak about this earlier, Shannon and Bill, but I mean, these guys we have an incredible team of people who protect presidents and presidential candidates in this country, and we need to be very grateful for them. And I would just stress that we're still waiting to learn the details about exactly what happened here and where this person who started this incident is right now, and that is the story of this evening. And I do expect, as I heard Bill say earlier, that we will likely hear from President Trump tonight, so we will stay tuned for that as well, guys.
Thank you, Martha. Martha McCallum joining us as our coverage continues live here in Milwaukee. And Shannon, just want to bring up, there's a lot of information out there from the Butler County, Pennsylvania DA. And he apparently, his name is Goldinger, Goldinger. And apparently he's speaking with a number of members of the press. None of this has been confirmed, so I just want to walk cautiously with it, but listening to David McCormick describe that man who was seated near him being carried out with numerous tourniquets on his body. There were casualties. As to whether or not there were fatalities, we hope and pray that's not the case. We can't confirm that right now, but there certainly were others who were injured. How many, we can't say either. But when we look at that video, it appears, Shannon, you know, he grabs his right ear before you hear a sound. And then after that, there was a repeated sound over and again. In addition to that, you have, in all likelihood, what would be the Secret Service returning fire, and that's why we have that quote that we have used now, shooter is down. So we'll wait for an update out of Butler, but we just want to bring you some of that now.
We're just getting something coming in from the Associated Press here. This is to the AP. They say the shooter is dead and a rally attendee was killed at the Trump event in Pennsylvania. They say the Butler County District Attorney is telling them that. That's according to the Associated Press. The shooter dead, and someone also who was attending that rally. That's the latest from there on
Gotcha.
site.
That DA's first name is Richard Goldinger, just coming up right now. Also another report, audience member, as you say, killed, the shooter dead, another person said to be in serious condition, and we'll wait for more information on the condition for that purpose. Katie Pavlis joins us now. She spoke to the U.S. Ambassador, who was also at that rally. Katie, where are you, and what have you learned for us?
Well, I had a phone call with former Ambassador Kip Tom, who was in the front row at this rally, sitting very close to Senate candidate David McCormick, and the first thing he said to me was, "I never thought this would happen again." He then went into details about what he saw. He said he saw gun smoke and bullets flying from multiple directions. And that's what we've heard from a number of people tonight, given their first eyewitness testimony being there. And he also had the same opinion that the president was lucky to be alive, which of course is what Senate candidate Dave McCormick also told you guys earlier about the current situation. So I'm sure we will hear from the president. We are 2 days from the RNC convention. He has every intention of moving forward and showing up there. It's pretty incredible to watch him walk off that stage shouting "fight, fight, fight." And I look forward to hearing what he has to say about this.
He was a violent Antifa member, and his last name was Violet, Mark Violet.
This is
He looked like a fat fucking loser.
for the country and the current situation that we're in.
See you,